Continuity is from the master to the two shots to the 50-50 kind of side shots to like the profile thing to the weird shot they're doing with the dolly that's coming around to your face to they're coming up from the cup to you, all that kind of stuff, that you're consistent from take to take. And if we're doing a 2-page scene, a 3-page scene in a feature film, you're going to spend 6 hours on that. You know, if you're doing a 3-page scene in a Hallmark movie, you're going to spend 90 minutes on it, but you're still like, it's over amount of time. You have to keep repeating the same performance over and over again. There seems to be an opposition or a contradiction in acting, which is, I need you to be flowing, accidental, spontaneous, surprising, electric, and it has to be the exact same every take, please. And so continuity and acting seem to be in contradiction to each other or in opposition. And and that's where I got stuck as a young actor and freaked out. Teach that they're not in contradiction; they're actually the exact same thing. They're in concert with each other. Being accidental, surprising, wild, and alive in a frame, and delivering the exact same performance is what we do for a living. The mistake that actors make is that they're finding their performance in front of the camera. So if you're finding your performance in front of the camera, you're probably going to finally find the best performance by the time we get to your close-up. But if we've done that, then that may or may not necessarily track or have continuity to everything else we shot prior. And what happens is, in your final, okay, I've really surrendered and I'm alive, your body really wants to do something. Like suddenly you really need to stand up or sit down or punch the table or grab the actress or do the thing with the glasses, which is a 1970s trope, and have like your moment. But you can't now because it won't be the same. It won't match what you did. And I have seen firsthand actors who in their close-up have this sudden inspiration, and then the superscription version comes out and goes, yes, I'm so sorry, you can't, so you must actually, you were looking this way, and you're like, oh, and now your performance is stuck in a place. Spontaneity, accident, surprise, joy, and playfulness all has to happen as soon as you possibly can prior to any cameras rolling. And so you have to have the audacity of the full-on first team rehearsal. The days of smoking a cigarette, having a coffee, and reading your sides in your first team rehearsal should be long gone. You're still going to come across people who do that, and I think it's up to you. It behooves you to be the person who doesn't do that. And if the other actors want to do that, that's fine. Great, good. I, myself, am going to do emotional preparation, cry, and figure out what's going on, you know. Come to the table with whomever you're going to be collaborating with a finished product. They come to the table with their finished product. Neither product is identical. You smash those things together and something beautiful happens. If you come with a finished product and they don't, well, that's fine. Then your finished product will be the one that wins. Let's hope the director, the DP, all your fellow actors, everybody comes with a massive ideas and we throw it on the table and we play together. If you can get to the set a little bit early, you should. I'll show you just a quick clip that's from my demo. It's on IMDb. There was another one I was thinking about. I can't find it. But I was looking at my demo this morning, which is a little daunting, and I noticed that every single scene that's on there, I can remember going to set early and playing on set first. Like I would sit in the office in the 101 whatever it is, Mystery 101, and figured out his desk and what's behind him and where would they come in. And I figured out the geography and this is the fun shit. This is the fun stuff about acting. Like it's fun. Like you're like, oh, look at my props. Oh, look, my character has a business card, you know. And walk around the set and then imagine, go ahead and imagine what's the scene going to look like. It probably won't look like that, but at least you have something coming with you, you know. So you've got all your scene analysis done, obviously you're off book. You know all your moments, your internal moments, you have your emotional preparation, you understand the character, you understand all the characters, you know how you fit, because you're probably not, let's be fair, you're probably not yet number 1 on the call sheet, you're probably 37 on the call sheet. So you're there to serve a purpose in the script and the overall script, and how do you serve that purpose and where do you fit in and what do you need to bring, and then so you bring all and you practice it with your I would take a scene and run the scene full out with another actor at home or in my studio before I ever go to set, and maybe 2 or 3 actors, and see what everybody thinks about it, and then just bring in a whole committee of ideas, you know? Then you come in and you're super uber prepared. And then if you can, so then you go to set and then you go, okay, so there's the door. I'd be walking in that door if I'm walking in, and what would be over there? And that'd be my safety place. And maybe this is that thing that makes me feel really safe. And you start like going, oh yeah, okay. You start having a relationship to the things on set. So you're prepared for that. Then hopefully you can steal an actor. This doesn't happen that often, but if it's another guest star or another co-star, it would be much more probable. If it's a really awesome lead who happens to have time off, it can happen, but this is less likely. But if you can steal the actors that are in the scene and say, hey, could we go to the set and maybe run it a couple times? That's great, you know? And when you do become 3, 2, 1 on a call sheet, you know, it's difficult because time is the enemy and you may not have time to do it. And you might be in the middle of 3 other things going on. But if you can do that, it really works well. You come, and then finally you come to your first team rehearsal. And then it's just like, boom, that's where you figure it all out. And that's where you can start to really play off the energy of the other actor and go, okay, what should I be doing? What's going on? I got it now. And then let your body go and let your body, now it's just like free form. Now it's playtime. So now you spontaneously just go for it and allow for the accidents to occur. And the only way for that to happen is that your head's not involved. And that's really hard when you just walked in on set as a guest star on a TV show and all 5 people are like leads and they've all got inside jokes and they're all, did you hear about Tommy and the thing? And somebody, and they all like, hey, dude, and they all know the gaffers' names and shit. And you're like the new guy. It's the new kid at school. When you're like a guest star kind of showing up on TV shows, you always feel like that new kid at the school that's not really part of the in-group. Like it always feels that way. So it's daunting to then be able to go wipe your ego and go for it in a scene. It takes an outrageous amount of courage, and I don't have that courage. I'm not really sure who would, but I don't have that courage. Maybe Chadwick Boseman did, but I don't. But what I have is I have insane amounts of preparation and a desire to play. So I just bring it all to the table and go like, okay, okay, here we go, you know. In that first team rehearsal is when you go, okay, I don't, and then you go, and then there's a tiny little voice in your head, which is weird because it's a bit of a contradiction because I'm saying you're supposed to be surrendered and spontaneous, but a tiny little voice in your head going, oh, that's cool. That was good shit. Me sitting back like that. Right. And then you're like, okay, I don't know what the fuck you're trying to tell me, but oh, that was funny what I just did with the bottle. So it's like a tiny little voice that is an audience member watching you work. It's not directing your work. And then you're like, oh, that's good. That works. And then you're like, okay, good. And then you're like, okay, I really felt the scene. That was really spontaneous and fun and playful. Then the director gives a note. And usually, I mean, mostly the directors don't give notes on TV. The note is, yeah, faster, or great, yeah, I like your audition. But if the director gives you a note like, okay, that's exciting. I think the whole scene has that, and actually give you an actor note, you know? The whole thing's a kind of more of like a wombat feel, like you're really like attacking that, and you're like, oh, good. So then you have to, let's do it again. So then you do it again, and then your body goes somewhere, and then you go, okay, so that's where my character lives. The first thing they go, okay, good. So we're on a relax while we set this up. You're not on a relax. Like you're not relaxed at all. You're not relaxed at all anyway, but like this is not the time to like go hang out in craft service and talk to Johnny, the gaffer, and about the latest baseball game. This is where the work happens. When the camera starts, your work stops. That's when you just give up and the character takes over and you play and you're not really there. This is where the work starts. So as soon as they go, if you can, you say, I need the set. If you can, you probably can't because they probably, you know, the stand-in's going to come in, or they sometimes they have to whip you back off to makeup or whatever. But you're going through in your mind, okay, so act 1, and then act 2 is when I was up, and then act 3 was when I was here, and then that thing was this power tool that I was using, and you're like, right, and you're emotionally finding the relationship to all the blocking, and you're working it all out in your mind, and then you're practicing it, and you're practicing it, and you're practicing it. If you bring all your work in and you find it and you discover it in the early rehearsals, and then you go through it practically and also cognitively, like imagine the scene and practice the choreography of it. If you do all that work, it doesn't clamp you, it frees you, because then what happens is I don't have to think anymore. It's the same with hitting your marks. Classes and hitting your marks is about the stupidest fucking thing I can think of, because I go there when, if in my first team rehearsal, I burst in full emotion and I stop and say, what is going on? That's where Matthew as this character stops. So then they put a little mark on the ground, but to me, that mark is never for me. That mark is for the camera people and for the stand-in to know where Matthew would naturally have stopped, you know? It's a drag when they say, so we moved your mark this way for camera. That's when you're like, oh crap, and now you gotta go re-engineer all the homework and figure out why you'd land in a different place. But the idea is that, like, I naturally move into here in the end of the first act. I naturally grab this bottle and do this. This is what Matthew does, right? So Matthew as Jonathan, right? This is what Jonathan does through Matthew's instrument. And so if I do all that work, now what happens is on action when the cameras are rolling, I don't have to think at all, because I'm going to be sitting here moving forward, grabbing this thing, and all the choreography's been practiced in me. And that doesn't limit me, that frees me. Now I'm free to play in where acting should be played, in the subtlety, in the realm of nuance, in the realm of tiny little microscopic moments and those little exciting things that happen internally between you and the other person. That's where, like, the great acting occurs. And again, Cherry Jones versus Kiefer Sutherland, but that's where the great acting occurs. So I make sure that there's no, if I'm worrying about or making mistakes in continuity in my takes, that means that I am not in the realm of the really exciting electric nuanced work where I think the real humanity exists. Yeah. By this time he's seen her and he's all romantic-y, and we're in Act 1.
Why did you?
Do you want to know something interesting? As you guys get better and better at your film acting, is I actually saw where the camera was. Watch, there's me, and I'm in the, you guys know your thirds, your rule of thirds? I gotta get rid of your faces. The rule of thirds is the frame breaks into threes. There's the left third, middle third, and right third. And so I'm in the right third and she's in the left third. I saw the camera and I saw the stuff behind, and and I actually could sense the frame. So I pivoted myself just slightly to give them a nicer frame. You see that beautiful frame with the stuff in the back? And the cameraman went, hey, dude, thanks. Like, that's just knowing film.
With me.
Anyway, so here we go.
What?
See, she's in the left frame.
Why did you break up with me?
What? You broke up with me.
No. Really? No.
Yeah, you have the honor of being the only guy to ever dump me.
No. I specifically remember when I lost the Coke bottle glasses, you lost interest.
You had girls all over you.
Yeah, okay. Still, you backed away and then you stopped coming to club.
No, wow, you're right.
Yeah.
You were just getting all this attention and I wasn't getting any, and I guess I just backed off.
He wins, moving into Act 2.
There was no formal dumping by either of us, come to think of it.
So technically we're still dating?
Yeah, technically. Do you know the reason why I got those contact lenses in the first place? I wanted you to like me more. And I wanted to see you better.
Act 1, standing position, right? Facing off her, having all these sitcom reactions and stuff, which is lovely. And then he has the win, like the major win, which is, oh yeah, she recognizes that he never really did dump her. He actually still likes her, which is what brought me down to the table. Right? See? Oh, wow, you didn't break up with me. Yeah, that's funny. And that's what brought me in closer to her. And that happened in rehearsal. In rehearsal, I was doing the scene, and it's like, what's his relationship to her? It's the love of his life that he never knew why he lost her. I'll stop sharing for a second. Clearly, this man, I'm 50 years old. We're talking about high school. So it's like a long time ago, right? It's 32 years ago or something. I was in love with this girl. And I've come back to this small town. That's all we know. And he was off being very successful somewhere. That's all we know. So you go, why would he come back to town? And he comes back to town because he's like, I don't know, he had his heart broken. He never found the woman of his dreams. He never, like, he was successful, but why? He didn't enjoy it. He didn't like it. And it's like, and then in comes the girl that he always loved. Like, it's like Providence. And so the first act was him just trying to catch up to it. But by the time you get to the second act, I'm like, you know, I really liked you. And when she goes, wow, it's true, you didn't break up with me. I go, yeah. And now suddenly he's connected to her and it's a big win. So what does he want to do, this guy? He wants to be closer to her. And so when I was sitting in the rehearsal, I didn't really think that stuff out so much as that's what the relationship was. But in the rehearsal, there was all this junk. They had my shop just full of audio shit, right? And there was actually a cash register and stuff. And in the rehearsal, I realized I was really constrained because I wanted to be closer to her. So in rehearsal, I said, hang on a second, sorry guys. And I just took everything off the desk. And I said, can we do it again? And then leaned in to be with her. And it just worked, you know? And it felt right. And I was like, oh, that's so good. And then accidentally in the rehearsal, when she's like, she basically says, I really liked you. Oh my God, she liked me. And this happened just naturally. It's all natural. But once it's happened, then I have to clock it and go, oh, fuck, that happened. So it's very physical. But watch that, lean in, you know? So now we're starting to like close the deal. Now look at that shot, right? It's an over the shoulder of me, but down, and the camera's come down on her. They've moved the whole camera down. So I don't really remember, but clearly that whole thing had been worked out in rehearsal, because otherwise they wouldn't have known they had to have a dirty over the shoulder shot of somebody who's way down here. So they set the cameras way down because that was my initial, if I had come up with that during the scene, we never could have done it. I would have just been standing there the whole fucking scene, which would have been boring. The whole thing about this scene that's exciting to me is this physicality. But look at this guy. If you just look at that physicality, you go, man, he likes her. Hey, that's my watch. Man, he likes her, you know? And so this thing happened with leaning in, and it's also like cute, it works. So my point being that the continuity of when I shift in, these things are all happening on Act 3, A, B, and C. They all happened naturally in the rehearsal. I didn't work out with Michelle. You know what I should do? I should lean in, that'd be great. I didn't do any of that shit. I was on set with Sarah, bopping to my music, getting into character, right, Linda? Enjoying her, running dialogue, and I'm like, okay, let's run it. And then as we were running it, I was like, I really want to move in here. So I just moved all this shit and then moved in. And then when she's like, I like you, I was like, yeah, me too, this happened. And the director came and was like, that's great, let's do that. The continuity is me, like it's what Matthew does in that moment. So I didn't have to worry too much about it. But I don't remember, but I'm pretty certain I probably fucked off behind the set and went, okay, when did I leave that? And just make sure I practice that stuff. But because of that, because I got to work all that stuff out, I think
Remember,
there's
when I
a
lost
real
the Coke bottle glasses, you lost it. No.
playful subtlety to this scene, and unsubtle, because it's just touching on sitcom on purpose. But
Really? No.
Yeah.
I get to discover all that stuff when the camera's rolling, because I don't have to worry about.
Yeah, you have the honor of being the.
Front load all of your work. Don't discover the great moments too late. Then you're fucked. Front load all the work. Make all the discoveries as early as you possibly can, so that you can then have a beautifully moved, choreographed kind of piece. And then from there, then you don't have to think. And now that you don't have to think, now you can flow. And in the flow, you're going to find all sorts of exciting things. The scene starts in the movie. There's no setup master.
What can I do for you today, Brian?
So
I wanted to speak to you about Johnny D. McMillan.
You know I wasn't part of his prosecution, right? That was
I don't know who this actor is. Who is he? He's really good. Does anyone know who he is?
way before my time.
And that's exactly why I wanted to meet you. You see, I've read through the record quite a few times now, and I have some serious doubts about the reliability of his conviction. If you could take a look at the sections I've highlighted here, you'll see some problems with Ralph Meyer's testimony.
Man, this is one of the most outrageous crimes in Monroe County history. Your client made a lot of people very angry.
I understand that, but there are some serious problems with this case. And I was hoping that I can get your support to figure out what really happened.
I already know what happened.
Take a look at the sections I've highlighted. If you could take a look at the sections I've highlighted here, you'll see some problems with Ralph Meyer's testimony.
Man, this is one of the most outrageous crimes in Monroe County history. Your client made a lot of people very angry.
I like that moment.
I understand that, but there are some serious problems with this case.
Again, he's on the
And I was hoping that I can get your support to figure out what really happened.
Very standard two-shot.
I already know it.
A little bit in the center, but he's still in the third. There's the over-the-shoulder dirty on the.
Johnny D. McMillan
There you
was
go.
convicted.
That's what I wanted to show you. It's so subtle. It's so minor, and mostly you wouldn't notice it, but I do. This actor's continuity is excellent because these two shots are shot, you know, hours apart. They had to fly out that wall. This is not a location. This can't possibly be a location. This is a set because.
I understand that, but there are some serious problems with this case. And I was hoping that I can get your support to figure out what really happened.
I already.
Yeah, that camera and all that equipment is sitting. They probably flew that wall out. That's probably studio light back there. So these two shots are shot way far apart, like a couple hours apart.
Already know what happened.
And so he's leaning forward. He's looking at the case. He's leaning forward. There he's leaning forward. He hands the thing. And
Johnny D. McMillan.
And so this gentleman's continuity is excellent between the two takes, and that's why the editor is able to edit it. Watch the editing.
What happened?
Dirty over the shoulder. There's his left shoulder. And papers. And sits
Johnny D. McMillan.
See? And so the editor in the editing room is like, great, we can edit that. And the reason why they want to edit that is because this line that's coming up is the pivot line. It's the shift. It's the shift of Act 1 to Act 2 in the scene.
Johnny D. McMillan was convicted by a jury of brutally murdering a teenage girl in my community, and it is my job to defend the integrity of that conviction.
So he just lost the scene, right? The DA is like, there's no way I'm opening this up again. So
even if that conviction is based on false testimony.
You're the only one I know who thinks that.
Then I must be the only one who read that record because it's pretty obvious.
And he leans in, because that's the end of Act 2, where dude just made his point. So now he's got to come back. Now there's a conflict. Now he needs to resolve this conflict. So he leans in.
That man caused a lot of pain.
And if we cut over his shoulder, we're going to see
he's
leaning in.
And if you go digging in those wounds, you're going to be making a lot of people very unhappy.
There it is. He's leaning in. See? So the actor is consistent in his movement, which allows the editor.
Well, it isn't my job to make people happy. It's to achieve justice for my client.
Well.
And that's a gorgeous bit of continuity, because there's no way that this shot.
Well.
And this shot are shot at the same time. There's absolutely no physical possible way in hell. There's no two cameras going on, because we would be seeing a big fat ass camera right here. So watch this continuity, how exact it is. Takes his moment.
Well. Ralph Myers.
And you'd be absolutely convinced that those are happening in real time, but they're not. To move those, even if they shot those back to back, which I'm sure they didn't, you have to move the camera out, move all the stuff, change the lights, put the furniture back in.
Two confessions and
so this is the master shot of the scene.
A statement from Bill Hooks.
And the interesting thing about that, just so you understand, is this: did somebody look up this actor's name? Is that if this is the master shot, which they probably shot first, and then in the editing room they decided to start the scene intimate and then bring the scene out. So it goes from intimacy, hey, we're friends, to cold. This is called a 50-50, right? This is a two shot. It's kind of cold, you know, and suddenly he's losing his intimacy. This is probably what they shot first. But that means that this actor is continuous right through all the different takes and shots for this moment. And he knows this is the pivot. This is the Act 2-3 pivot. So he knows that this is the change.
Well,
so this actor never misses a beat. So he's been doing the same damn performance
and a statement from
all
Bill
afternoon
Hooks.
After each take.
I asked for copies of all the police and witness statements.
Well, that's what you're holding.
He's sitting in the exact same position
Where's
as he
the
was
rest
the
of
master.
That's what's relevant to the
Now we're
McMillan
back to these
case.
shots.
If you want more, you'll have to file a discovery motion with the court, just like anybody else. Thanks for coming by today, Mr. Stevenson.
That
I
track.
expect that motion soon.
Oh, I look forward to it, Counselor. You want to check out the Mockingbird Museum on your way out of town? It's one of the great civil rights landmarks of the South.
Rafe Spall came with all of his work ready, and he knew exactly what he was doing. He's very, very good in that scene. He's very alive if you pay close attention to it, because he's the enemy. Like, he is the enemy with a charming face, but there's all this stuff going on inside of him. But he obviously came to the master knowing exactly what he was going to do. Okay, I'm going to reach over here, I'm going to grab this thing, and he's practiced. I'm going to lean forward on this moment, I'm going to lean back on this moment. But if you watch the scene, you see, unfortunately, I kind of ruined it for you. But if you watch the scene without thinking about this stuff, you would never, ever, ever think that that actor has preconceived anything. It would look all very spontaneous, like that he leans in because he leans in, not because he has leaned in. So I would imagine that in the rehearsal, he discovered all that, and now he can just play. And now the subtlety and the nuance of the stuff that's happening inside of him, now that can really, really have a chance to come alive.